Hi there. Can you tell me who you are?
My name is Tom Fote. I'm the governor's appointee to the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission. I also am the legislative chairman for Jersey Coast Anglers Association and the New Jersey State Federation of Sportsmen Clubs.
You are well known to everybody who has any kind of issues related to fishing in New Jersey. And you've been fishing yourself personally for a long, long time. Tell me how you started out back in Brooklyn, I think.
Well, my father actually used to fish when he was a kid, or when he was growing up. And basically, before he left to go to World War II, he left his fishing poles in Steeplechase Pier. And in Brooklyn, when he came back, they sold them all. And he says, "Oh, we thought you died." So my dad would take me fishing. And actually, people always say, "Where does your first fishing trip came in?" I came with my grandmother.
Well, really? Your grandmother? Yeah.
We were in Prospect Park sailing boats on the lake in Prospect Park. And they were running a fishing tournament. So my grandmother got a stick and a bobby pin and basically said, "Here, you can go fishing." And then I talked my father into taking me in when he went out partying, charter boats, crabbing. And one thing left to another. By the time I was 12 or 13, all my summers were spent fishing Canarsie Pier off the Marine Parkway Bridge, or it's Canarsie Steeplechase Pier in Coney Island.
Wow.
That's my dad used to fish at it. So it basically always haunted me that I really wanted to go fishing. And while I was in Vietnam, sitting on a hill one day, because I was an engineer officer, and I'm sitting there bulldozing, so I look at this worm, and these are Vietnamese worms about 13 inches long. I said, "Boy, I could catch fish on that worm." So even in Vietnam, I was thinking about when I get back when I'm going fishing.
Well, when you got back, you moved your fishing operations to New Jersey Shore for the most part. And go ahead. Did you want to comment on that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the luckiest days of my life was when I got hit, because I wound up at Wilson Army Hospital. My Linda, my wife, was doing volunteer work. I met her.
Wow.
And we've been now married 48 years, and we know each other 56 years. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. So she took me to Island Beach State Park in 1970 when I was still walking on crutches, and I fell in love with it.
Oh, isn't that fantastic? What a nice story. You really reeled in a winner with that one, if you don't mind the pun. So fast forwarding, here you are, and you appeared at a joint committee meeting of the Assembly and Senate Environmental Committees today in Towns River. And they were talking about a number of different subjects, but you mentioned how things have changed with the catch. What is available in New Jersey waters these days, what's popular, what can be caught. And
we always talk about the canary in the mine. When I first moved to my house on Barnegat Bay, it was 1979. Every year I had 8 to 9 inches of ice. They would rise the pilings on my dock. I had to pay somebody to jet them down and hammer them down every year. And the water was clear in the wintertime. You could see the bottom.
Wow. And
sand eels were basically all over outside. We would take our boat and go out bluefishing out of Barnegat Inlet, and I could fill up a 151 cooler in an hour and a half with 15-pound bluefish, because they were feeding, especially in October and November before they went to North Carolina. In 1989, there was no ice on the lagoon. The next year, there was no ice on the lagoon. I started talking to my friend Bruce Freeman, who used to be the director of Bureau of Marine Fisheries, because we fished once in a while together on the beach. Right? I said, "Bruce, why are all the sand eels not out there?" He says, "Sand eels need a temperature below a certain degrees to spawn, and we haven't gone below that temperature in the last 2 years." And that's when bluefish started crashing. It was 1989. The stock started going down, because bluefish would spend their time, and that's why I love Island Beach State Park, because that's where they would stop. They'd fill themselves up with sand eels, put on 5 or 6 pounds, like the bears do before they go in hibernation, and like the red knots do when they do eat horseshoe crab, and then they would shoot to North Carolina, and they show up with these big, fat, 20 and 30-pound fish down there, or 15-pound fish. What happened when the sand eels would do it, they come from feeding on Atlantic herring up in Maine and Massachusetts, and they come here, and there was nothing to eat. So they started running straight to North Carolina, and by the time they got to North Carolina, there was no body fat on them.
Wow.
So any animal that does not have body fat usually does not waste the energy into putting into eggs, because the eggs won't survive. So it stopped. The stock started going down. It wasn't because commercial fishing were catching any more, the recreational. Matter of fact, we put a 10-fish bag limit in. And I always laugh. I said, you put a 10-fish bag limit in, and the stock started collapsing. First time I realized that temperature made a play.
Wow.
92, we had the perfect storm. We used to have a surf clam industry in New Jersey that was worth $230 million. You could harvest them right off Island Beach State Park. They come out in November. Those boats were dragging the clams every day, taking them down to the plant in Cape May, and they were processing. And if you had clam strips in San Francisco, 40% chance they came out of New Jersey. Within 10 years, they were gone.
Wow.
Because as the water warmed up, they moved further offshore for colder water and north. So there is no longer a surf clam fishery off Island Beach State Park. There's no longer a surf clam fishery in state waters. You get a few coga hogs for bait, but not like it was in those days. Then, as you know, I've been involved with fisheries management for. I look at lobsters. Lobsters were interesting in New Jersey because all of a sudden in the '90s, remember when they were fighting over the lobster and they were shooting at each other and they burnt the boat? Stupid thing, because lobster fishermen are a little crazy. And we doubled the number of permits we had because they were catching a lot of lobsters. And as the water warmed up, they were producing more and more. And recruitment, as we call babies, when the babies were produced, they were doing great numbers. The water temperature went above a certain level, and all of a sudden, no recruitment. We have not had recruitment on lobster in 15 years. The Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission works differently than the councils do, because if we were managing lobsters, they would have shut the fishery down 20 years ago. It wouldn't have made any difference because we can't control the water temperature. But they would have said they were doing something. And according to the Magnitsky Stevens Act, they say they got to do something. But it wasn't accomplishing anything. So,
sorry. Sure. So now I understand that the lobsters, which were so popular in Maine, for example, they're sort of disappearing there too, or they're reduced in number there, right?
The numbers are still good because they've had good recruitment from back in 10 years ago.
Okay.
Because as the water warmed up, they got tons and tons of lobsters that reproduce.
Right.
But they haven't had recruitment in 5 years, so there's no babies coming to fill those gaps when the lobster grow. So the director of Pat Cullerhurt of Maine is in a panic situation. What is he going to do? Because unlike New Jersey, that had maybe 20 or 30 lobster permits, they got 9,000 permits.
Wow.
And if you think about the economy of Maine, you go for lobster rolls. Sure. You want fresh lobsters off. It keeps the restaurants in business and everything else. So it'll be a dramatic problem to Maine. And we're starting to see species where they don't belong. I mean, you can go out now out of Manasquan and go to Manasquan Ridge and catch cobia. Now, we never saw cobia 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You can catch red drum. You never saw a lot of red drum 20 years ago. I mean, they would come in as freak occurrences, but now they're coming in quite often.
Well, you actually, you jumped ahead. I was going to ask, would all these other species slowly disappearing here or moving further north, has anything else supplanted them? Has anything else come on, which is going to be good for recreational or commercial fishermen?
Well, I mean, you might see, we talk about 2050, we might be fishing tarpon and bonefish in Barnegat Bay. I mean,
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think about and the Maine might be losing the lobsters, but Labrador might be losing theirs because the water's still warm up there.
Right.
And it's this continuous thing. When we get manatee from Florida showing up and making homes in New Jersey, it's a big story every year. Well, we could wind up with them. It's impossible to know what it is in 20 years. And this is, we felt we would be in a certain place 10 years from now. Right. And now it's escalating faster than we thought it would be.
Wow.
And those temperature changes are coming quicker, and the sea level rise is going to be faster than we thought.
Can I assume then that fishermen, commercial and recreational, are supporters of legislation and other things to limit climate change or to react to it? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's like anybody else. You want to support something that'll basically improve your standard of life,
sure,
as long as it doesn't get in the way with your standard of life.
Right. Okay.
And so when we get into windmills, the commercial guys look to how because they're going to impact where they are. They can't fish those areas. Right. So how do we compensate them for loss of areas? And that's one of the things that has not been clearly stated yet.
Right.
Because it's going to affect their livelihood. But it's going to affect their livelihood if the water warms up too high, too. So It's a catch-22, and we got. I said a long time ago because when Lisa Jackson was commissioner at DEP, she called me and says, "Tom, we're going to do $4 million study on how windmills will affect birds and marine mammal." I says, "How much you spending on the study for fish?" He goes, "Nothing." Because the bird people got us money, but you don't get us money. And I laughed, but that's the truth. Of most of the jobs, we didn't do that. And now we're here 15 years later, and we supported windmills. And I've caught a lot of flack from certain commercial and recreation fishing groups. Says, why? I says, because I look at all the factors involved. Every lake, every river, every stream in New Jersey has fish advisories on. And what are those fish advisories? Mercury contamination. Where does the mercury contamination come? Pennsylvania and Ohio, from the air deposition. Commissioner Sheen said, all that NOx is coming above us and dumping right into our lakes and rivers. And so anything that makes fish healthier for people to eat, I'm for. And I also look at its acidification of the ocean is causing problems with shellfish. There's a lot of things that we do because we're burning coal and gas that creates the atmosphere that we're causing problems, makes the water more acidic. So we got to do something.
Tom, you're a very interesting guy. This is an interesting subject. We're going to have to stop now, but I have a feeling we're going to have other topics to talk about as things, as we see, they're changing all the time for you folks, and you're reacking to it. And
Frank, you've been doing a great job for the last 30 years. You've been helping, keeping me informed about everything that goes into your blogs and your columns, and I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. That's great. All right, we'll talk at another time, Tom. Thank you very much.